Howdy y'all, I hope you guys are all doing well. I hope you guys are safe. Just as a quick introduction to who I am, I'm just a dude who loves to talk about fashion and personal style. Whether that be on the low end of things to the high end of things, it's just something that I love. And just to very quickly address what's going on in the world right now, and so you guys know my stance on it, Black Lives Matter. It's very simple. It is honestly probably one of the most logical things that I can even imagine, especially taking into consideration what has gone on right now. So all I want to say is stand up for what you believe in, do your part and participate as much as you can. If you want to donate, I'll have some links in my bio, or not bio, but I'll have some links in the description. If you protest safely, understand the ins and outs of it, understand your risks, and last but not least, we are still in the midst of a pandemic. So as much as possible, keep yourself healthy. Wear masks, stay away from large groups of people if you can, and just be safe all around, and first and foremost, be safe out there. Cool. So today's video is going to be basically about cultural sensitivity and why is this okay? And why is this not okay? Of course, everybody wants to be as respectful as possible when it comes to clothing and dressing themselves. And first things first, don't wear anything that makes you uncomfortable. And this is going to be a very quick guide to basically make sure everybody around you is just as comfortable as you are in the way you dress as well. When you put clothing on your body, you dress a certain way, you have a certain piece on, you're accepting, and you're going out into public, you're going ahead and accepting the message and symbolism that is inherently within what you wear. Now that may be kind of like overanalyzing it, but when you're wearing things that are either politically charged or have basically cultural sentiment behind it, it is pretty important that you're making sure that you're staying as respectful as possible to avoid offending anybody else around you, because that just kind of brings on problems that obviously you wouldn't want to deal with. Now, politically charged graphics or basically like culturally attached clothing or pieces or whatever it may be could very much affect how somebody basically interacts with you, because then they make an assumption based off of what you're wearing, and then they know kind of part of what you stand for, part of what you are, part of who you are. And sometimes that could come off negatively. Just as an example, if you wear something that's very, very democratic and liberal in nature, older Republican individuals would probably treat you worse. Hopefully not worse, honestly, but more than often than not, they'll treat you differently because they know you have opposing views to them. Now, obviously everybody, especially nowadays, want to be as accepting as possible culturally, but some people that honestly, when you're in public, that you can't account for, can have biases, prejudices that you could potentially trigger, and it just kind of ends up all bad in that situation. So your goal when you're dressing yourself in things that are kind of culturally charged, culturally sensitive, should always be to be respectful of the culture that it's drawing inspiration from, and not be seen as an act of appropriation. So I'm going to go ahead and reiterate that because that's very important. It's to be as respectful to the culture that you're taking inspiration from, as opposed to appropriating something that belongs to another culture. Another very, very, very important factor that plays into this whole thing is make sure that you keep up with the political climate in the current events. It's basically timing. If you time things poorly, it could be seen as more of a political view than you might not really want to press that issue. I don't know, it's kind of hard to kind of word it, but just keep up with current political events and just make sure that the relationship between the cultures that you are and are going to be taking inspiration from or taking elements from is as respectful as possible. Now, a couple of examples that I want to bring up that definitely really well encompass the issue that I'm talking about here. The first one is going to be a brand called Visvim. Visvim is one of my absolute favorite brands of all time, and if you look at a lot of their clothing, it's very heavily Americana inspired as well as Native American inspired. The reasoning behind that is Hiroki Nakamura, the head designer and founder of Visvim, spent a lot of time in Alaska. So he was exposed to a lot of Native American culture. He saw that, was inspired by it, took it back to Japan, and basically made very heavily inspired Native American clothing through a Japanese lens. Now, I can see how some people might find that very offensive in some ways, but it is the original intent of the clothing is this massive appreciation that Hiroki Nakamura had found in his time in Alaska. That didn't sound right, but I'm sure it made sense. At least I hope so. Another example that I wanted to bring up is a little bit one more close to home. My personal style is very heavily Japanese inspired. I definitely love Japanese brands. I love a Japanese aesthetic. It is honestly one of the best overall styles in my opinion. And me being a Filipino man trying to emulate Japanese stylings, it can get a little like murky where that line is drawn, where it's like, are you a poser or are you just simply drawing inspiration from something else? But I mean, I'm Asian. I definitely think that it translates over pretty well, and typically speaking, the Japanese are pretty accepting when it comes to drawing inspiration from Japanese things. So long as it's respectful, of course, and not a mockery of their culture. And another one is Western wear. Western wear has been a pretty big trend lately, especially in the vintage scene. Western wear I think is great, it looks awesome, but it was very difficult for me to kind of wrap my head around just because I'm a Southeast Asian man and I'm not sure if I can pull off Western wear, if that's kind of weird for me to wear like say cowboy boots. And so that was kind of like something that barred me from really going all in with the Western wear. I ended up like, I do have a pair of cowboy boots and I think they're beautiful and I love to wear them, and I kind of got over the me being hesitant because I live in America, I'm an American. I don't know, I think it's kind of funny to kind of bring that up. But as respectful as possible, I do very much appreciate...
We live in Las Vegas here, like the last year.
Oh, okay, cool. Hey, that's dope. Yeah, so I live in Las Vegas. I live in the Western United States. So Western wear, not really all that weird to see out here, and I do very much appreciate, say, the cowboy boots, the Levi's 501s that were typically Western wear. So I don't think it's really that far of a reach because I grew up in Las Vegas. It's kind of something that I've seen around me plenty of times, and if I decide to wear it, I mean, I have the, I guess, environment to back it up. Now, one thing, probably the best example, my favorite example of, you could call it cultural appropriation, and that's pretty much exactly what it is, and it can get very offensive very easily, is a lot of Coachella fits. Oh my goodness, there are so many things that can go wrong, and I'll definitely put some examples up. My brother will be editing this one, and I'm sure he'll find some beautiful examples of what can be considered cultural appropriation. And honestly, it kind of just speaks for itself. So, little montage of Coachella fits.
Wow, fringe. Wow, feathers.
What a headdress!
Oh my god, I love turquoise.
Okay, go ahead and cut that part off. And then next is gonna... Cool. And with all that being said, I hope you guys learned something. I know I'm not the most eloquent when it comes to talking about rather serious political things, but I hope you guys got something from this video. I mean, that's really all I have to say about it. Stay safe out there, you guys. Protest peacefully as much as possible. Do your part, donate, do whatever you can to make sure that this injustice gets corrected. And please stay safe, please stay healthy. Until the next video, I'll catch you guys later in the next one. Later.